experience together by simply attending to our experience. Whatever it is, you might have mental activity, you might have sensations in your body, or you might not even know what you're thinking. You might just be blank. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's invited into our space. And I am beginning here because I am thinking in this moment that there are extremes. Like we can either be too much into the franticness of our lives, like we need to do. And of course, if we connect to our devices, there is a never-ending opportunity for becoming more productive, right? It's like if you want to be more productive, I think you're in the right place. There's many offers about being productive. As well as the other extreme, which is if you want to be more calm and healthy and present in your life, there is also, I don't know, maybe hundreds of thousands of offers on how to do that. But the main teacher of your life is you. It's not the offers. And it's not the technology. So as you connect with yourself, you're really asking yourself, who am I connecting with, right? Who is your best teacher? So it might be useful to listen to you, to your best teacher. And of course, that as you continue to connect with yourself, I'm thinking that of a famous experiment in psychology, which was trying to solve the problem for a person who was suffering epilepsy on a regular basis. So they decided that they were going to disconnect the left hemisphere from the right hemisphere to see if the epilepsy would cease. And so they went into this particular area of the brain that is called the corpus callosum, and they divided it surgically, the left hemisphere from the right hemisphere. And what they realized is that now the brain was, in essence, intending to do different things. The right brain wanted to do some things and the left brain wanted to do other things. And so we as human beings have this divisiveness within. We're listening to life from different ways. And maybe, if you're more left, like more planful and more organizationally oriented, more execution oriented, more structure oriented, then you might want to follow your life in a certain direction. But if you're more of a person who maybe doesn't take things so linearly and prefers to be more integrative rather than moving forward, accomplishing things, then you do that. But in essence, I think what's coming up for me in this moment is that we have all these selves within ourselves. It's not like we're complex. So we want different things, and it is the reality as it is, right? So in our community, and I am usually thinking, like, what is the conversation that is coming up through our community, right? Like, what are people talking about, and what are things of interest and things like that, and trying to honor the thread of the community. Even one person has this complexity, but imagine number of people coming together with different styles and different ways of being, and trying to kind of have a conversation that is worthy, that is meaningful. And so I've been listening to that conversation, almost like listening to the left and right brain of the community to see what's actually happening. And things that have come up have had to do with creativity, so more right brain stuff, with things like gender reconciliation that some of the people in the community are interested in, or gender differences and how to come together, not only as men and women, but as masculine and feminine, right? And we all have that within ourselves, the masculine and the feminine as well. And even some of the projects in the community have to do with these kind of intelligences coming together and speaking with each other. And then the community has also spoken about structure and about the power of, one of the roots that has emerged, through the 7 roots of potential roadmap. It's a roadmap in essence, because it helps you to simplify your journey. It's like, with all this complexity, we need simplification, right? It's too complex for us to be attending to on a regular basis. So we need to simplify our lives. And one of the roots is actually called simplicity, to manage complexity. And by the way, I came up with these 7 roots of potential because one of the things that I realized along the way was that the human being wants to be so much in the front and center of attention. It's almost like an addiction of the ego. That it's like, oh, look at me. I'm all powerful and I'm all like superior and stuff like that. And I say, well, the true potential of people doesn't come when the ego is really ruling the show. That's not where the power is or where the potential lives. So how can we help ourselves tap into our best selves? And how do we do it in a way that doesn't piss off the ego too much anyway? It's like that's not a good thing. When our ego gets pissed off, we don't think very clearly. So anyway, these 7 roots emerged and they didn't emerge from an academic study alone, although that did play a role in my kind of like imagination or my creativity, but also what did I see on the ground? Like what is the actual truth? Like what do I actually see? Not only what the books say and what science says, but what is true out there. And I saw that these are like 7 different orientations where people get to be the best of themselves. And so I started writing about it and trying to actually be a student myself of what was coming through myself and seeing what kind of sense that made. And there it was, the 7 roots of potential. But that's not the topic I'm particularly presenting to you right now. It's just that I'm using the opportunity so that we actually become immersed in a conversation that is deeply valuable. So that is important. Value, right? Like, so I'm going to stop in a moment. So because what usually happens is that we then have a conversation with ourselves, and I'm just like a fire kindler. Like, let me just start the fire and then I'll just stand back with everybody. But I've been blamed, by the way, in my life a lot. Because when you choose to stand and lead, you're going to be blamed. There is no other way about it. So I try to be as kind as possible so that I don't get thrown tomatoes and things like that. But anyway, the blaming happens when people get pissed off because now they have to face themselves. And the easiest thing to do is just to blame somebody else for our issues. So I can often be a good hitting target. I don't mind. Like, as long as it's tomatoes, it's fine, actually. I don't really mind it so much. Bullets, I don't really care for. But anyway, within that conversation of the community, there is like polarities that show up, like gender, you know, being a woman or a man is not better or worse, it's just a polarity. Or feminine and masculine, it's another polarity. Simplicity and complexity is another polarity, you know. Structure and openness is another polarity, or things like that. So within ourselves, I started with that. We have polarities, and there is no reason to judge ourselves for our polarities, you know, like, so I'm just inviting you guys to welcome yourselves as you are. Of course, there is a structure to this whole process. So we stick to the structure, because if we're just exploring without anything of any intention, then it's just exploration, almost useless process of exploration, endless exploration. And so in our community, you know, as Jeanette was saying, we have the pillar of the evolution in ourselves. We have the collaboration or the support system through the community. And then we have the impact. And lately, that has been actually kind of more emphasized, the impact side. Like, that's why I'm saying exploration without form is just not very useful, because we can explore all we want, but if we're not going to channel our exploration into something useful that is of value for people, you know, it's like it's going to create a benefit for our society, then, you know, I'm not very interested in that conversation. So this impact is quite important. And also what is also important is that you have the freedom, as that's why I love the value freedom. You have the freedom to do it in your own way without being blamed or judged. Like, there is no right, wrong. It's just you. You're not a right or wrong. You're a human being who has a possibility. Always, you're unlimitedly possible. Unlimitedly possible. That's who we are. And so we welcome those polarities of both structure and freedom, or however you want to put that polarity. But neither of them are less or more important than each other. And we must include them all, both, all the time. So I'll just end my sharing today by saying that I mentioned that the ego, when it gets too triggered, it can get very, very complicated and not very nice. You know, it becomes a problem. And so when we don't give ourselves the opportunity to explore with invitation and freedom and kindness, then the ego gets involved very quickly, and it's like, oh, it's no good. This is no good. So we got to be careful that when we are sharing with each other, that we are being respectful and kind, and you know, we allow mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, and then I welcome myself once again with kindness and with loving nature and invitation and all this. But you know, we're living in a time where it's a perfect situation for us to actually become urgent. Our world needs us. I mean, and when I say our world, is your world, right? Like, who is in front of you, your clients, your customers, your families, you know, your friends, and the work that you do, whatever that is, you know, needs you. It needs you. So, you know, when we want to be urgent, then we have to be capable of being urgent. It's not just urgency, you know, for its own sake. It's like, are you capable of being focused? Are you capable of taking action in the direction that most speaks to your heart? Are you able to actually lead people? Are you able to make a difference, to create impact? Are you able, right? And if you're not at the level, I mean, that you want to, then you got to work. There is no other way about it. And that has nothing to do with your beautiful self. It just has to do with how capable you are. And so I'll end it with that, and just reminding us all that we wake up every day to become more fit for impact. What are you doing to become more fit? You know, every day, you know, take it seriously, be urgent. Who are you? What are you up to? And as far as impact is concerned, it's just almost like some of those people who show up to auditions and say, I'm ready to audition for this. Okay, go. Oh, you're not ready. Bye-bye. Then it becomes very impersonal, right? Like, why? Well, because the world doesn't care how loving you are, or how kind you are, or how beautiful you are. It just cares what value you're bringing, and are you ready? And so that's it. You know, I'll leave it there, and then we can talk for half hour about whatever shows up for you and comments that you guys may have and insights that are emerging for you. And we learn with each other, because together, as Jeanette many times says, we're limitless, more than one. So we're both individuals and collectives. And here we are, 8 beautiful people who want to take action. Thank you.
I would say, Ruben, experience and the polarity, for us, it's very helpful because it maintains us in our structure, in our in what we are building as our structure, no? Our integrity and everything that keeps us there. Because when we experience, we are doing, we are acting, and we are experiencing these borderlines, these edges, no? These challenges that move us also forward, that keep us, makes us evolve. It's this polarity that shows us that it's not the same if we do this or we do that, no? So we know that we have freedom, and we have the freedom to be ourselves, because we know there's also structure that doesn't permit it, for instance, no? So it's this polarities and experience, it's going into that.
Yeah, I like it what you're saying, the structure of the polarities. That's a structure in itself that we maintain. If we don't invite the polarity, then it's hard to evolve, because then we're just defending one side over the other as if that's important. You know, in each of the spaces that we're in, with the urgencies, the degrees of urgencies that we have, then we get to decide what is best for us, right? And what is best for you might not be what's best for me, but at least we're working with something that is true, and we're holding ourselves accountable for whatever urgency it is that you're facing, right?
Really very nice. I love the dynamic part, and I go back to where you started, which is the experience. No, if we don't experience, the experience is doing while observing. No, we're experiencing, we're feeling, so this is what guides us. No, to really know where the freedom is, where the structure is, how we move with what we have, which is, like you maybe said, holding both, because we hold the brain also, both of them at the same time, and it's this observing while we are experiencing.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, the experience. So notice our experience now versus when I said, what is your experience?
Yeah. Right. So thank you so much. Love you all. And we continue our conversation.